Now, since Jennifer's parents were listed as her emergency contact, her boss had reached out to them first, as I mentioned. But like I said, Drew and Joyce they were just as stunned to hear that she hadn't shown up. Jennifer loved her job. It was her first real position out of college, one that she had worked incredibly hard for. She had been interning at that same timeshare company while also finishing her finance degree at the University of Central Florida, which really proved her dedication long before she ever even had a paycheck. Her efforts paid off too. After graduation, they ended up hiring her on as a project manager, and within her first year, she earned multiple promotions. She was very proud of what she had built, proud of the independence it gave her as well. Proud enough, too, that at just 24 years old, she bought her own condo in Orlando, which not many people her age could say that. But then again, Jennifer, she wasn't your typical 24-year-old. And that's exactly why her parents knew that there was absolutely no way that she would just blow off work, especially with this big meeting happening and potentially jeopardizing her reputation that she had worked so hard to build. So as soon as they hung up with her boss, they started calling and texting her nonstop, begging her to answer, saying, just tell us you're okay. It's all fine. We just want to hear from you. We just want to know you're all right. And 1,000 possibilities were running through their minds. Maybe she was sick, maybe she was hurt, maybe she had been in an accident on the way to the office. Or maybe there was even some innocent explanation, something that maybe they would joke about later, like her alarm didn't go off, or she overslept and everybody was panicking for no reason. They knew that those scenarios were probably long shots, but it was almost comforting to cling to anything that kept the panic at bay. But with each unanswered call to Jennifer's phone, their fears just grew worse. Jennifer never missed a call. Her mom, Joyce, even said, quote, her cell phone that she has had since she was 16 years old went to voicemail for the very first time. That's how we know that something horrendous has happened. And her parents weren't sure what to do next, so they called the management office at her condo complex. Surely they could tell if something was going on. They could maybe gain access into her condo. So they explained everything, what her boss had told them, how none of this made any sense, and they asked if somebody could go check on Jennifer, check on her condo, and see if anything looked out of place. Now, obviously, the management company couldn't just barge into her condo, but they did swing by. And from the looks of everything, things seemed very normal on the outside. It's not like her door was left wide open or there was anything suspicious, at first glance. However, they did note to her parents that her black Chevy Malibu was gone. So it definitely didn't seem like Jennifer was home. Now, Jennifer's parents and her brother Logan lived in Florida as well, just not in the Orlando area. They were in Tampa, which is close enough to reach her, but far enough that every single mile that you're driving feels like it's taking forever and you're like at this slow crawl. So as they rushed toward Jennifer's condo, that drive became the longest, most antagonizing trip of their lives. They were calling every single local hospital. They were asking if Jennifer Kesse or any Jane Does had been brought in. They were panicking that maybe if she had been in some sort of car accident or if something happened on her way to work, that maybe that's what happened. She was in the hospital and they just hadn't identified her yet. But each call ended the same. No Jennifer Kesse, no unidentified Jane Does, no answers. And then they finally arrived at her condo. Now, I'm not sure if they had a spare key or if the complex maybe made an exception to let them in since they were so worried about her, but either way, they were able to get inside her condo and take a look. And what they saw inside, it only made them worry more. But before you get ahead of yourselves, no, it's not like they just walked into a crime scene. There was no blood, there was no broken vases, no furniture, as if there had been some sort of struggle and things were turned over. In fact, it actually looked pretty normal, pretty clean. Her shower still had drops of water on the side of the walls. Her shampoo and conditioner bottles still had, little pools of water surrounding them like they had been freshly used. There was a damp towel sitting right there on top of her dryer in her laundry room.